Hi, I'm Kier Joseph Tarrazona, a senior high school teacher of De La Salle Santiago Zobel School, Vermosa campus. Assessment is one of the most important parts of teaching learning process. It plays an important role of determining the student's understanding of the lesson and for us teachers to perform the necessary interventions or adjustments with our teaching strategies. In ODL or online distance learning, assessment is one of the most challenging parts to conduct, most especially in assuring that the students won't cheat during the test. That's why today I'm going to share to you or show to you how to create online assessments with cheat protection. So the first thing that we should do is for us to go to the website called exam.net. Okay. So once we are in the website, we will be able to see different tabs or options. We have the student, then we also have the teacher. So for teacher, we can either create an account by signing in using our Google account or existing Google account or using Microsoft account. Then, if you already have your account, you can also sign in. So in my case, I will be signing in because I already created an account. Then, once you have signed in, you will be able to see different options. We have here the list of the exams that you have created. In my case, I already have a sample test for demonstration purposes because I already created one. Then we have here new exam, then exam list, which is the current view, surveillance or results, which we will be using later, then my school, where you will see the list of teachers or the names of the teachers that are in the same domain as your email. Then we have here profile, then sign out and support. So to create an exam, we have two different buttons that we can click. We can either click here on top or here at the bottom. Okay, so let's click this one. So let's label this as physics test because I'm a physics teacher. We have three different options. No digital exam questions, meaning you have to dictate all the questions, then the students will answer. The second one is to use a PDF file. So you have to make the exam questions using Microsoft Word, then export it or save it as PDF file, then upload it here. The last one is to write the exam questions manually. So you can either copy it from Microsoft Word, then paste it here, or write it manually. So if you write it manually, you have to format also the questions using this tool or using the tools here. Then if you copy the questions from Microsoft Word going to this page, take note that the formatting will be different. So I suggest that you export it as PDF file, then upload it here so that if you have different or special formatting, or let's say for example pictures together with the texts, then using a PDF file, the formatting will be retained. Okay, next on to the student information. So here you can click or select the student information that you want the students to answer. Let's say for example first name, last name, and class. Then after that we have here anonymized exam. If you click this, the identities will be placed or replaced by unique codes, and you may reveal their identities after grading the exams. So let's say for example you don't want to be biased, so you can click this one if you want to. Then we have here the student workspace. So we have to enable the writing area. This is enabled by default because it is the writing area or the considered answer sheet of the students. If we disable this, the students will not be able to answer because there is no answer sheet. Then we can limit also the number of words and define answer format. If we define the answer format, for example, your test is 10 items multiple choice type of test, so that the answers of the students will not be in different format per student. It's easier if we define the answer sheet or the answer format. Let's say for example by adding table, let's say let's label this as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10. Then adjust the table And if it's a multiple choice type of test, then this space is already enough. Okay, there. Then we can click OK to save it, or we can add more formatting here for the students to answer. Let's say, for example, for problem solving, you can define that this is the given, this is the RTF or the required to find, this is the solution, and let's say this is solution for letter A, then this is for letter B, and this is for the final answer. And then just simply adjust the table depending on the space needed. So if you save this, the students will have a defined format, and their answers will have the same format as well. Because if you don't do this, what happens is that the students' answer will have different formatting, and you will have a hard time checking all their papers because, again, they have different format in answering the questions or the given questions. Okay, so let's click OK. Then after that, we have here spell check. Then we can also have the option or enable the option scan handwritten solutions with a mobile phone. Let's say, for example, if you enable this, the students will be able to scan their solutions written on their papers using a mobile phone. So there will just be a QR code that they have to scan using their phone, and then they will be able to upload the picture of or the scanned solution. Okay, next we have accessibility tools. So we have here different tools. We have translation, synonyms, speech synthesis, and also here is an important accessibility tool, additional documents. So we can either add PDF document of articles, reading selection, or clippings, and so on. In my case, I use this additional document or additional PDF document to attach a guide of formula or equations. Let's say, for example, in face-to-face setup, usually the teacher is allowing the students to write the equations using an index card. So in this case, you can add the equations using a PDF document or PDF file. Then we have here audio files for subjects that are requiring audio. So you can add here the file and then activate it for all students. Then we also have here different subject tools. For subjects that are requiring drawing, you can enable this one. Then also calculator for math, and also subjects that are requiring calculations. Let's say, for example, the student doesn't have a physical or an actual calculator. So the student can just simply use the built-in calculator if you enable this one. Then you can also integrate GeoGebra or Desmos for math subjects. Then you can also have basic and advanced mathematics formulas. Then the last one is external resources. Let's say, for example, you want to integrate a specific website, let's say, for example, Google Forms, because you want to have a data after the test. But also, if you enable this one, the external resources, the external resources will not function unless you disable the cheat protection. And that is applicable to Google Forms. Let's say, for example, you want to integrate Google Forms here. You would have to disable the cheat protection for you to integrate it. So I don't recommend this one. Then there are different security settings. I'll start from the least or the lowest security. So we have here allow any browser. By the name itself, we can just simply allow the students to use any browser. It could be using their iPads or laptops or MacBooks. So it could be Safari, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, and other browsers. Then the second one will give the students two options, either allow any browser or high security mode. Then the last one, which is the highest security, is require high security mode. For this to work, the students should install a specific application. Let's say, for example, if they're using iOS or Mac, then they have to install exam.net from the App Store. If they're using Windows, then they have to install Safe Exam Browser or SEB. Then they have once they have installed it, they don't need to do anything to the application. What they need to do is just use the exam key during the test. Then if we enable allow any browser, there is an additional settings for the lower security mode. So here are the different settings. So we have require an explanation but unlock immediately. And the default here is require explanation and unlock manually by the teacher. So what happens in allow any browser is that when the student tries to switch tabs or applications, for example, he or she will be locked out of the exam. And the student will not be able to continue with the test unless the student will write an explanation or type an explanation. And then if you deem it valid or to be valid, then you can manually unlock the student and then he or she can continue answering the test. But the problem there is, let's say, for example, there are 10 students who got locked out of the exam. You have to manually unlock them one by one. So it's a bit of a hassle for you while administering or while conducting the test. Whereas if we require high security mode, the students won't be able to switch to any applications or any tabs. They will be locked in a single app mode. They can't exit unless they either submit the exam, you force submit the exam, or they force exit the exam. So there are three ways on how to exit the test. So either again they submit it, you force submit, or they exit the test, and if they exit the test, they won't be able to continue the test. Okay, so after clicking the necessary security or the security that you want, you just simply create the exam. In my case, I won't be clicking this because I already created the exam. But after clicking this, you'll be able to see the exam in the exam list. So now let's click exam list so that we can see the created exam. So here, you'll be able to see the created exam or created test. So I have here sample test, then here's the exam key. So here's the option that you have to click if you want to copy the exam key, because you'll be giving it to your students when you are going to conduct the test now. Then we have here the status. Right now it's color white because the status is set to the lowest security, which is allow any browser. Then we have here a button for opening and closing the exam or the test. Let's say, for example, you have already given the exam key to the students. Then they enter the exam key. They will not be able to see the exam or the questionnaire unless you open the test. They will only be able to answer or start answering once you click open. Then after a few minutes, you can close it so that the latecomers will have to take the makeup test and not the existing test. Then we have here edit content and settings for you to edit the test. Let's say, for example, you missed something, then you can just simply edit it. Next is surveillance. This option is used in administering the test. So while you're conducting the test, you have to click this one, which I'll be showing it to you in a short while. Then we also have here preview exam for you to verify if all the settings were applied in the test or in the questions, or let's say, for example, you've added a PDF document. You want to check if it was already added. So you can preview the exam so that you'll be able to see it in the point of view of the students. And I'll show it to you in a short while. Okay, so in conducting or administering the test, you have to copy the exam key. Then you have to give it to the students either a few minutes before the start of the test or the moment it's already time for your period. So in my case, I give it to the students right away, but I don't click open the test yet. Um, I wait. Sometimes I'm waiting that all students are already present before I click open. There are also times wherein there are a lot of latecomers, so I schedule them for makeup tests. Then, after you have copied this one, and then you can click surveillance or results. Once you click that, you'll be able to see different options. You can use any video conferencing tool or platform for you to give the exam key because the students will not be able to copy paste the key um, in the exam.net website. Okay. So here you'll be able to see the list of the students who are currently taking the test, and there are different icons that you have to remember. Number one, if you see the lightning icon beside the student's name, it simply means that the student has no connection or lost connection to the test. It could be that the student switched tabs if, let's say, you allowed any browser, or he got disconnected from the internet because slow connection maybe, or power outage. Okay. Then we have here different options and also different information. We have here the number of students who started the test, number of students who submitted the test, and also ongoing. Once you see that the students are already here, you can click open for new students so that the students will be able to begin answering. Then let's say, for example, the test is good for 30 minutes. So you can set the time here 30 and set the time. There will be a countdown timer that will also be present in the student's point of view, which will be found on the lower left of their screen. Take note that this timer is just simply a guide, not connected to the submission of the student's work. What you can do instead, for example, the time is already up, then you want all the students to submit their papers. You can either force submit the papers of the students, or you can give them few seconds to finalize their answers or click submit, and then their answers will be, or their work will be submitted. Then we also have here resume keys. Each student has a specific key, resume key. Let's say, for example, this one. So this student has this specific resume key or individual key to resume the exam. Let's say, for example, the student got disconnected. You can give this key to that specific student so that the student can go back to his progress in answering the test. Okay. Then you can also print the papers or download Word files. If you download Word files, then it will be saved per student. One file per student will be created. But this is not recommended for subjects like math, physics, chemistry, or subjects that involves calculations, because if they use, for example, the built-in equation editor or right expression tool, the their answers will be different in Word format. So I recommend you download it as PDF, and when you click download as PDF, there are two different options: all students in one file or one file per student. So if you want to check the file per student, then you can click the second option. In my case, I download all students in one file so that it's easier for me to check the test. I don't have to open each file and then check it one by one. All the files or all the answers of the students are already inside one PDF file. Then you can also link it to your Google Drive and OneDrive so that it will be saved in your drive for retrieving purposes. Take note also that if you link it to your Google Drive, it will be saved as a Word document, not as a PDF file. And also, your exam questionnaire will be downloaded as well. Okay? So now, I have discussed to you how to conduct and also retrieve the files for checking. And for checking, you can use annotation in PDF. Let's say you downloaded the PDF file. You can use annotate to mark the answers check or wrong. So there are no options for automatic checking as of now because exam.net is just simply for administering tests or creating online assessments with cheat protection, but not for checking the test. So you can download the PDF file and then check it by marking it using annotation or by annotating the PDF file. Okay, so the next one is the student's point of view. For the student's point of view, once you have given them the exam key, they have to visit the website exam.net. For demonstration purposes, I enabled the test as allow any browser because I won't be able to screen record if I select the high security mode. So here they have to enter the code given by the teacher. Let's say that's the exam key. Then as the teacher, I already enabled or opened the exam so that the student can simply enter the exam upon entering the exam key. So after typing the exam key, they just have to simply click next. Then after that, they have to supply the information that is being required by the teacher. In this case, it's just first name and last name. Let's say, for example, Juan, then De La Cruz. Then they have to click Fetch Exam. So here, if you don't click the Open Exam, the students will not be able to see this one. There will be a message that they have to wait for the teacher to open the exam. And if you already open the exam, then they will be able to see this and then click Begin Exam to begin answering the test. And here, they will see the questionnaire on top and the answer sheet that we made earlier using the predefined answer format, and they will just simply supply the cells with their answers. Okay, then let's say for example they want to look at the additional PDF file that you attached earlier. They can just simply click here. In my case, I labeled it as Greek prefixes and conversion factor. Then here they will be able to see the different prefixes and also the different conversion factors. They can also use calculator while taking the test. So let's say they don't have a calculator and your questions involve problem solving, so they can just simply use the calculator. Then drawing tool, if your subject requires drawing, then the students can simply use this drawing tool to create drawings. And then once they're done, for example, this is the drawing. Once they're done, they just have to click save and wait for a few seconds, and then it will automatically be placed on their answer sheet. So they click show exam, then they will be able to see here the image that they had drawn a few seconds or minutes ago. Then they just have to resize the image according to their liking, and then they can just simply move it to the left side if they want to, and so on. Okay, then let's say for example the student is taking the test and the student is having a difficulty on a specific number, and the student wants to ask a question to the teacher. There is a teacher chat function that the students can use. So just simply click teacher chat, and then in the surveillance part, you'll be able to see the message of the student. For example, sir, I have a question. Then on your end, you'll be able to see it here. So here, sirs, I have a question. What is it? So without disturbing other students, you'll be able to answer the question of the student, and at the same time, the student will just can just simply ask you a question. but you have to set policies as to what specific question or what type of questions are allowed during the test. Then once they're done or before they submit the exam, they can see here the clock and also the remaining time. This is the countdown timer. They will be able to see the time here, how many minutes left. Then they will be able to see, let's say for example, the time is almost up, they have to submit their exam. So once they have to submit or once they wanted to submit their exam, they just have to click this one, submit exam, then again click submit exam, and it is already submitted. And in your end, you'll be able to see this prompt wherein the student already submitted the test. And here you will see the student's answer. You will be able to see the student's answers while they are taking the test. Just click the name of a specific student, then click student answer, and the answers of the students will be shown here, and it will refresh for about 20 between 20 to 30 seconds. So every 20 to 30 seconds the answers of the students will refresh and you'll be able to see their progress. Let's say for example you clicked on the name of the student and then you saw that it's already 10 minutes but the student doesn't have any answer yet. So you can just simply chat the student, tell the student that it's already 10 minutes and he or she doesn't have an answer yet. Okay? Because the student might be having a difficulty in answering the test and he or she is just shy to ask you the question or a question. Okay? So again, once you wanted to retrieve or if you want to retrieve all the answers of the students, you can go to surveillance or you can go to exam list, then surveillance, then here download PDF file. So let's say for example, let's download PDF file. Let's say one file per student. Then once it is downloaded, you'll be able to see the PDF file of the student. So you can just simply check it by using annotating tool. Let's say for example this one, pen tool, there. So let's say for example that, and you can just simply type in the score. Let's say for example 5/15. There. So now it is graded and ready for returning. Okay, so that's it for exam.net and also how to make or create exams with cheat protection. Just remember that when you are making the assessment, there are 3 different options for security. And I recommend the high security mode, although the students have to install a specific application, but it will just be on the beginning or at the first part. After that, it will just be a smooth run for the succeeding assessments or succeeding tests because you have already established what is required to administer the test in high security mode. This way, the students will not be able to switch any tabs or any applications at all, because if you allow any browser, they will just simply they can just simply switch to any tab and then pretend that they lost connection and then just simply put it as their reason, and then you can just simply manually unlock them. Also, it is important that you set policies and rules before the test so that the students will be guided what to expect and also what are the things that they shouldn't do and they should do before, during, and after the test. It is important to set the policies or the guidelines when taking the test few days or a week before the actual assessment. It is also important to give sample tests first before you do the actual assessment so that in case you encounter problems, you'll be able to address it before the actual assessment schedule. Because let's say for example, you encountered or the students encountered problems during the actual assessment, Their time in answering the test will be wasted in waiting for possible solutions. To summarize everything, I'll be showing to you the pros and cons of using exam.net as an online tool for creating, conducting, or administering online assessments with cheat protection. So the first one is that it's free. Next is it has cheat protection. Even the lowest settings, the allow any browser, it still has cheat protection. The student needs to provide an explanation, and the student will be locked out of the test if the student will try to switch tabs or switch application, and he or she will never be able to get back to the test unless he can or she can provide an explanation, and the teacher can manually unlock the student to continue the test. It's also user friendly. No need for advanced knowledge or IT for you to make an exam, or for the teachers to create an exam or assessment. And also for the students' side, no need for them to create an account, which is less hassle because they just need to enter the exam key and they will be able to answer the test right away. And also, it's easy to export the student's answer in PDF format, Word format, or even link it to your OneDrive or Google Drive for easy storing of the documents. And it also has a teacher chat function. So the students can just simply ask the teacher without disturbing the other students. Then also, you can view the students' progress while they are taking the test, which is also important for teachers to facilitate the test. Then for the cons or the disadvantages, so we have, again, it's free but until December 2020 only. So if you're going to use this, make sure to maximize your usage of this one because it will only be free until December 31, 2020. Then it doesn't have automatic checking, meaning you have to manually check everything, unlike other platforms. Next, no analytics or item analysis, which is important because we also have to know which specific item is difficult for the students, or how many students got correct or wrong in a specific item. That's it. Thank you so much for joining and watching my session entitled Creating Online Assessments with Cheat Protection. I really hope that you were able to learn something today. It might not be that much, but I hope that I was able to help you in making or creating assessments, most especially in our current setup, which is online distance learning, wherein assessment is really difficult or one of the most difficult parts to conduct or administer. Once again, I am Kier Joseph Tarrazona. Thank you so much and have a nice day. Thank you.